This is the second of the workshops in how to win an election in a town like Oldham. The first of the workshops really looked at areas where the block vote wasn't as effective and where the independents were standing and where we stood a chance and what we had to do to win in those places. This actually is designed to look specifically at how elect teams in each of the wards can fight. So let me bring something up. Hope you can all see that. And let me show you. So it's an all-out election. So these are all-out elections. And all-out elections means all 60 councillors in Oldham are up for re-election. And the reason that is because the boundaries have changed. Some of the boundaries have changed. Some have stayed completely the same. But because some of the boundaries have changed, all 60 of them will be up for election. And that means in Oldham, there are 20 wards. So in the 20 wards, all 60 councillors are up for election. And all 60 of these are free councillors per ward. Okay, so that's where we're up to. It live. So if there's 60 councillors, up for re-election, and each of the wards we've got 3 councillors up for re-election, this is what would ordinarily happen. You'd go and vote and you get 3 votes. So you can vote once, twice, 3 times. So you get to vote for 3 candidates. And what normally happens when you're voting for 3 candidates? Is this. And there's been studies on it, so I'm not making any of this up. There's been studies on this. So what normally happens, if people would go and vote for, if you're a Labour Party supporter, you'd do one of 3 things. Or a main party supporter, you'd go and vote for all 3 Labour candidates. But the thing is, the problem is, not everyone does that. Most, in fact, a significant number of people don't do that. What people tend to do is this. They'll vote one political party that they support. 2, they support a person that they know. And 3, they'll support the independent. So that's what will happen, or what does happen. So when you go and vote, you'll say, okay, and I'm making this up. So if I went to Shaw, for instance, okay, I might say, okay, I'm a Lib Dem. It's a Lib Dem stronghold, yeah. So I've put an X next to Howard Sykes' name. I like Chris Gloucester, but I'm not so keen on Marie Gloucester, so I'm going to put the 3rd vote on an independent. So that might also be a Lib Dem. This will be a Lib Dem. But the 3rd vote will go to an independent. And that's someone who's a Lib Dem supporter. So that's someone who's a Lib Dem supporter. They will go in and not necessarily put all 3 votes on Lib Dems. Now, an independent supporter, so say you're standing in, and we'll stick to Shaw. Say we stick to Shaw. An independent supporter will go over, and he or she will also have 3 votes, and they'll see Mark Hintz's name there. They might see Lisa's name there. Is it Lisa Navsi? Sorry if I spell your name wrong, Lisa. And they'll say, okay, I'm voting these 2, but my 3rd vote, no one's going to vote 2 and leave when you've got 3 votes. They don't. They'll put a 3rd vote. And if all the other candidates are Labour, Lib Dem, or Conservative, they'll put a third vote on there, or if there's another independent, they'll put a vote there. Now, there's a problem with this. And this is the problem with this. Or it's not a problem. There's something you've got to understand, to work out, to to manage. And I'm not picking on Shaw, it's just the first thing that came to my mind. If you're an independent party or a group of independents like Markins and Lisa is, and the standing in Shaw, this is what you've got to be wary of. If you're an independent supporter, and he's got 1,000 of them, give or take, he's got 1,000 votes there from the last election. If he's only got 2 candidates, people are going to vote on the third one, and he'll put someone else through. Never mind get them 2 over the line, if it gets them over the line at all. So my analysis of this is, you've got to go in with, in most places, you've got to go in with either 3 candidates or 1 candidate. Now, 3 candidates means all 3 independent supporters, you've given them reason to put a X against all 3 of your votes. So 3 independents, 3 independents, 1, 2, 3, great. His 1,000 votes hopefully will translate to 1,000 votes, plus whatever else he picks up, and he can take seats from the Lib Dems there. If it doesn't, go in with 3 candidates and say it's just him and Lisa that go in Shaw. This is what will happen. Vote 1 will go to the Lib Dems or Labour. This is just a different voter, yeah? Vote 2 will go to Labour, Lib Dems or Labour, or the Conservatives, if they stand, And vote 3 will go to the Independents. Right? If you've got one candidate, everyone who's voting Liberal Democrats who are thinking of maybe giving a vote to the Independents, you'll pick up a vote off everyone there, you'll pick up a vote off everyone there, and you'll pick up a vote of everyone there. That's if you've got one candidate. If you've got 2 independent candidates, everyone who's voting for these main parties who are considering voting independent, you're splitting your vote. Some will pick Mark, some will pick Lisa, and they'll get half the votes. And this is separate to the core vote of the independents who are going to vote for them anyway. So this is your 100% guaranteed votes, which you're going to get. But here, you're only getting half the votes because you've got 2 candidates. You shouldn't do it. So if I was standing in Shaw, and I'm a supporter of the Shaw and Crompton Independents, and I'm a supporter of Mark Ince and Lisa, if I was standing in Shaw, simply because of the way the numbers work, the statistics work, if I was standing in Shaw, I would only have 1 independent candidate or 3 independent candidates. I would never go with 2 independent candidates because you'll be splitting your own vote. What I would be doing is, if I had 2 candidates in Shaw, I'd probably putting 1 up in Shaw and 1 up in Crompton. So I'd put Markins in Shaw, I'd put Lisa in Crompton. And what you then get is all of the independent votes will be voting for each of you. But in each of the wards, the Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative vote, and people do it. They don't put 3, a significant number of people won't put 3 X's in Labour or won't put 3 X's in Lib Dem, they'll think, okay, I'm going to use one of my votes for the independent. They'll use one of the votes for the independent. They'll use one of the votes for the independent. They'll use one of the votes for the independents. And what they end up with is if they've got 1,000 votes that they normally get because of the independents, and if there's another 1,500 votes in the area, well, one of those, of 500 of those, a third of those, will be voting independent, and they'll end up with 1,500 votes and they'll get over the line. Does that make sense to people? So that is my advice. Ensure when you are standing just one candidate. I put up a picture of Arooj Shah at the beginning, yeah? You saw that, and it was a picture following how we defeated her in Chadderton South. And now she's gone back to St. Mary's, which is essentially Glodwick. It's the main Pakistani community in Glodwick. The existing councillors in Glodwick are one independent, his name is Aftab, and one Labour, Akil. Sorry, I might have spelt his name wrong. Labour. And they've moved the other Labour councillor out, which is Naira Ibrahim, to Werneth, and they've put Arooj there. Labour. And there's a third Labour candidate there. I forget her name. But there's a third Labour candidate there. And candidate 3, 1, 2, 3, and Aftab. Now, everyone gets he's an independent. Now, what Aftab has done, he's gone and got himself another candidate. A lovely young lady, another candidate, who's standing with him. Let me just bring up her name. Sorry, she deserves her name. So just give me 1 second and I'll bring up her name. Aisha. Okay, so the Aftab and Aisha are the 2 independents there. Now, one of the reasons Aftab's done that clearly is he wanted a running partner who was a woman. He's a man, he wanted a running partner who's a woman. He's clearly not of the misogynistic sort of world, so he wanted a woman running partner, and he didn't get a third one. He got 2. Now, what is likely to play out there is this. Aftab is a popular councillor. He's got elected twice, so Aftab will win. As in, he'll get over the line. He'll get enough X's across the line. Akil Salama has been a councillor for a long time. He'll get in. And you're thinking the third vote is between Arooj and Aisha. Aftab's hope is that the people who put an X next to him also put a next X next to Aisha. Not all of them will, because of clan loyalties and all the rest of it. They'll put an X next to Arooj's. So that's how it'll work, and maybe she'll get some of them. What you end up with, if you want to keep Arooj Shah out, and for the first time ever, there's something called a white block vote in St. Mary's. Gary Lee stood there in St. Mary's a few years ago, and I think he got something like 300 or 400 votes. The strategic coordination of the white block vote in St. Mary's can keep Arooj Shah out. And this is how. And I'll do it closer to the time. And this is how you keep Arud Shah out of St. Mary's. Now, I know a lot of you have been asking me, how do you keep her out? How do you keep her out? This is how you keep her out. So, the Pakistani bloc vote, the Muslim bloc vote, is going to get Aftab said 2,200, Akil 2,000, Aruj 2,000, and say Aisha 1,750. And that's the, that's the Pakistani bloc vote. That's how it's playing out. There is a white vote in St. Mary's. It is St. Mary's ward. This isn't just Glodick. This is St. Mary's ward. And 300, 400 people do go out and vote. If those 300 under vote voted for Aftab, he would be up to 2,500. If they voted for Labour Free, the third Labour candidate, they'd get up to 1,500, so that'd be about 1,300. He'd still be on 2,000. She'd still be on 2,000. But if those 300 went and voted for Aftab and went and voted for Aisha, what would happen is Aisha would be on 2,050, and then it'd be either Akil or Aruj who'd get the third one. If you voted for Akil, you'd get Akil over the line, you'd get Aisha over the line, and you get Aftab over the line, and Aruj is out, and that's with a 300 block vote. That's with a simple 300 block vote. With a coordinated white block vote in St. Mary's ward, you'd get Aftab over the line, so he'd get the full 4 years. You'd get Aisha over the line, and you'd get the more palatable Labour Party councillor over the line rather than Arud Shah, and you'd keep Arud Shah out. Do you see how straightforward that is? So I've showed you how to, as independents, how you should stand in places like Shaw and Crompton. You shouldn't have two candidates in one ward. The numbers don't add up. It's all about numbers. The numbers mess it up. You'll lose votes. You'll split your vote. You'll split your vote and the Lib Dems will get through. When you're giving a chance for one vote, you're saying one independent, you've got your core vote, who voted for you anyway, which is 1,000. And then 30% of all the other voters, of the other 1,500, and you'll end up with 1,500 votes. And likewise, in St. Mary's, by just mobilising the white block vote for the first time ever, mobilising the white block vote in a strategic way, your votes skew it in such a way where Arud Shah comes last. Oh yeah, as straightforward as that. It is. It's as straightforward as that. Now, where you have three candidates, and in some areas, I know some of you are looking at three candidates, 1, 2, 3, they need to work as a partnership. So places like Royton, places like Failsworth, Hollingwood even, from what I've seen, Coldhurst, where you've got three candidates who are in one ward, they need to work as a partnership. And these are the three essential traits. You need a leader. You need someone who's outgoing, who'll do all the talking. Bullshit. You need someone who's bullshit. You need someone who dots the I's and crosses the T's, yeah? You need a details person. You need someone who'll read all the paperwork, who is a coordinator. Okay, so you need a leader and you need someone who is a coordinator. An admin type person. And the third person you need is someone who's very community spirited. Someone who is known in the community, who does a lot of charitable work, who no one has a bad word to say about. And that is the team you need in a specific ward when you want to win. And a team of 3, if you're going forward with a team of 3, that's what you need. And if you're going forward with a team of 1, then I'd say that's your team of 1, or potentially that's your team of 1, but never this one. It just won't get enough votes. Okay? So my apologies for being extremely late with this transmission and this very simple workshop. I know a few of you have asked me, a few of you have been asking me, well, what does a team look like? What should a team look like? So that's what a team should look like when you're pulling together 3 candidates. Someone who's a leader, someone who's happy and willing to engage in debate, dialogue, stand in front of people. Not everyone can do that. Someone who's a coordinator, admin, can coordinate a campaign. And someone who's very community minded, knows people everywhere, knows all the sort of community centres, all the voluntary organisations, does a lot of charitable work. And that is your team of 3. In terms of winning an election, you either stand 1 candidate or 3 candidates. My preference in areas such as Shaw and Crompton is to stand 1 candidate. 1 candidate because of the reasons I've explained, how the numbers work out when people go and vote 3 times. You'll get over the line with 1. With 2, those who are considering the independent vote will split between you and the other person, and you won't get as many votes as you would have otherwise got, and it can be the difference between winning and losing. And in terms of St. Mary's, and if you want to keep Arooj Shah out of getting re-elected, then the way to do it is to campaign with the 300 or so block white vote. Non-Pakistani, non-Bangladeshi, non-Muslim, non-cartel. Avoid the greater Glodic community. There's 300 or so, excuse me, there's 300 or so people there, and to get them to strategically vote for Aftab, Aisha, and one of the Labour Party candidates that isn't Arooj. And she'll come forth. As simple as that. And it is as simple as that. None of this is complicated. You've got 3 votes, and you can strategically use them to keep Arooj Shah out. So I know Gary Leese hasn't joined me today. I think he joined me the other day and wasn't so happy when I didn't tell him off. I was a bit short with him though, because he was asking about Jim McMahon. And I'm like, well, Jim's got nothing to do with these elections. These are local council elections. These aren't MP elections. But Gary Leese did campaign in St. Mary's last time. And if I was campaigning in St. Mary's, if I was Gary or if I was someone else campaigning in St. Mary's, I would stand and say, vote for me. He'd only get 300 votes or 400 votes, but that's by the by, vote for me. But the other 2 votes, vote here and vote here. Or not stand at all and go knocking on the doors and say, last time you voted for me, we didn't get over the line. This time I'd like you to vote for these 3 candidates because we want to keep Arooj Shah, the former leader of Oldham Council, out of the council chamber, and we want to stop her from getting re-elected. And of course, none of what I'm talking about is illegal or unlawful or in any way underhand. These are all-out elections, and the top 3 get elected. And you get 3 votes. Yeah? Straightforward? Okay. Thank you very, very much for bearing with me. I now have to go and find myself, have another conversation with a barrister and a solicitor to deal with Dr. Chauhan, who, from what I can tell, doesn't enjoy me asking questions about him. So we'll see what comes of that. I hear Kaiser's lost a case and he's had to pay a lot of money out. I haven't got that sort of money, so if I lose a case, the only thing that'll happen is I will go, I think, is it bankrupt the term? I'll go bankrupt and end up doing podcasts from phones or something. Yeah. Thank you very, very much. Hey, can you vote for an independent party? Well, you can you? How can you vote for it? Well, I'll tell you how. Stand yourself. That's how you can vote for an independent party individual if you don't have it in your ward. Stand yourself. How else? If we keep her out, she will go to Bolton. It wouldn't surprise me, mate. It wouldn't surprise me at all. On a serious note, onto how can you vote for an independent party individual if you don't have one in your ward? Oldham Heart are working very hard on making sure there's a democratic option in every ward. So they're trying to put up candidates who are independents in every ward, particularly in wards where there are no independent options. And this is now me being serious, because again, the trend seems to be when you don't vote, when you don't go out to vote because there's no one on the ballot paper for you to vote for, you disengage with democracy and the turnout goes lower and lower, and people who don't vote once tend not to vote the next time, and so on and so on. So not voting is unhealthy for democracy. Not voting is very unhealthy for democracy, and you need to have candidates on the ballot box, on the ballot paper, that people will go out and vote for. But the only way you can do that is by growing people to become candidates, politicians in elections, and it's very hard. Ask any of the main parties. It's very, very hard. No, you can't. I'm afraid you can't vote outside your ward. That's not how it works. That'd be funny though. Can you choose where to vote in each of the wards? No. I've never heard that. I've never been asked that question before. Can you vote outside your ward? That's an interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. So here's 60. Just put your name against any. Yeah. No way. Only 18 voted in what? In the polling booth, in the polling station? You mean in the polling station, don't you? That's poor, isn't it? So where are you? Where is your ward? What are you making reference to? Are you in Waterhead? Is Greenacres Waterhead? I think Greenacres is Waterhead, isn't it? You've got independent standing in Waterhead. Oldham Heart will be standing in Waterhead, so you can vote there if it's Waterhead. Okay, so that is how to keep out. One, that's how to get yourself elected in somewhere like Shaw and Crompton. Just put up one in each rather than put two in the same one. You'll be damaging yourself. It's the same for the Calder's independents. I've had the same conversation. It's the same with the Royton independents, the Saddleworth independents. Put one in each. Put one in each. And then the alternative is, how do you keep someone like, sorry, not the alternative, the other thing I wanted to get out was, what should your team look like? So you have a leader, a coordinator, and a community-focused person as your core team. Never mind all the support you need wider than that. And the third case study as such, or a scenario as such, I think is just demonstrating how to keep Arood Shah, the former leader of Oldham Council, out from getting re-elected in Glodwick. Remember, she left Glodwick, went to Chadderton. She got ousted in Glodwick first. She got ousted in St Mary's first after beating an election, and the all-outs is her way back in. And there's a way of keeping her out. There's a way of making sure she doesn't come second or doesn't come third. And that is by mobilising the block white vote of 300 or so to vote for the other candidates strategically, and she'll come fourth. Okay? Hope you found a value in this. I will be back, I think, on Sunday now, I think is the plan. There is an event tomorrow evening. It's the Independent Summit. I'm looking forward to all of the independents who are coming. We've got everyone coming from Failsworth Independents, Royton Independents, Calder's Independents, St Mary's Independents, Saddleworth Independents, and so on and so on. Oldham Heart. The only ones we've not got are obviously the far right sort of fringe parties that I'll have nothing to do with. And we've also not got the Oldham Borough Independents who won't work in a collaborative way. But that is what it is. That's not on me. But there's enough of us standing together, working together with a commitment of taking this town forward. So I very much look forward to seeing you all soon and feeding back on what happens tomorrow evening on Sunday night. So please take care. Get in touch with me if you need me for anything. If you find value in this work, please like, please share. And if you're able to do so and haven't done so already, please consider buying me a coffee to help keep my lights on. Thank you very, very much. And once again, my apologies for the delay in getting this transmission out. Take care. Bye.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.